Most men think women want the loudest guy in the room, the one who flexes, shows off, and constantly talks about himself. But here's the truth. Women are not obsessed with noise. They are obsessed with calm. The man who doesn't rush, doesn't chase, and doesn't lose himself in drama, that's the man she can't get out of her head. When we talk about masculine calmness, we're not talking about passivity. We're not talking about silence that comes from fear, insecurity, or weakness. We're talking about the type of calmness that radiates from a man who knows who he is, what he stands for, and where he's going in life. This calmness is not an act. It is the result of deep inner strength. A strong man doesn't need to prove himself by raising his voice, showing aggression, or trying to dominate every situation. His presence alone communicates that he is grounded. A man like this walks into a room, and without saying much, people notice. Because his calmness is not emptiness, it is control. It is the ability to master himself before he attempts to master the world around him. And that is one of the most attractive qualities a woman can ever experience in a man. Think about it. When chaos hits, when problems arise, when life throws unexpected challenges, most people panic. They complain, they lose their temper, they act out of fear. But the man who remains calm under pressure signals something very different. He signals strength, stability, and leadership. Women instinctively recognize this because it is built into human psychology to seek stability. A woman doesn't just want a partner for romance. She wants someone she can trust in moments of crisis. She looks at a man's reaction not when things are easy, but when things are falling apart. And in those moments, if he remains centered, collected, and focused, she feels an immediate sense of security. That is why calmness is not just attractive, it is magnetic. It speaks louder than words. Strength has always been associated with control, not chaos. The strongest warriors in history were not the ones who lost their temper every second. They were the ones who stood still, observed, and struck at the right time. The most respected leaders were not the ones who shouted the loudest. They were the ones who kept their emotions in check while everyone else fell into panic. Calmness is a form of emotional discipline, and discipline is strength. A man who cannot control his anger, his fears, or his impulses is actually weak, no matter how muscular, wealthy, or loud he may be. Women see through that weakness very quickly, but the man who stays calm, even when insulted, even when tested, even when tempted, communicates, "I am in control of myself, and nothing outside of me has the power to break me." That is strength in its purest form. Now imagine this in relationships. A woman may test you, she may challenge you, she may push your buttons, not because she wants to destroy you, but because she wants to feel how strong you really are. If you get defensive, angry, or reactive, she sees that you are controlled by emotions. But if you remain calm, smile, and respond with clarity, she realizes you are not a boy anymore. You are a man. And a real man is attractive not because of what he says, but because of what he doesn't allow to disturb his peace. That kind of presence is rare, and anything rare instantly becomes valuable. Calmness also signals to a woman that you are not desperate. Men who are insecure are always fidgeting, always trying too hard, always doing something to get approval. But a calm man doesn't need validation. He validates himself. And when he interacts with a woman, she senses this energy immediately. It makes her curious. She thinks, why is he so composed? Why is he not rushing? Why is he not trying to impress me like everyone else? That curiosity is the seed of attraction, because women know that a man who doesn't need to chase is a man who is already complete. And only a complete man has the strength to offer something real. This is why calmness is not just a personality trait, it is a signal. It signals maturity, it signals confidence, it signals that you have gone through storms and you didn't break. It tells her you are not controlled by temporary emotions or external chaos. You are steady, you are consistent. And in a world where men are easily shaken by rejection, stress, and ego battles, that steadiness makes you stand out. It is not about being emotionless. It is about being the master of your emotions instead of a slave to them. And when a woman feels that mastery in your energy, she can't help but respect it, admire it, and be drawn to it. At the core of attraction, beyond physical appearance, beyond charm, beyond status, lies one primal instinct: safety. A woman cannot open herself to love, trust, or connection unless she feels safe in the presence of a man. Safety here doesn't just mean physical protection, it goes far deeper. It means emotional safety, psychological safety, and even spiritual safety. It is about her knowing that she can be vulnerable without being judged, that she can express her emotions without being dismissed, and that she can lean on you when life feels overwhelming. And here is the truth: calmness is the strongest signal of safety you can ever give. Because when you are calm, you tell her without words, I can handle life, I can handle myself, and I can handle you. That energy relaxes her nervous system and makes her feel at ease in ways she can't always explain logically. Every woman has a subconscious radar for chaos. If you are unstable, easily triggered, or reactive, she feels it immediately. Her body tightens, her mind becomes alert, and she is reminded that she has to protect herself, even in your presence. That is the exact opposite of attraction. A woman does not want to feel like your mother, constantly calming you down, fixing your moods, or absorbing your emotional storms. She doesn't want to live in a state of anxiety, wondering when you will explode next. She wants to know that when the world is loud, she can come to you and find silence. When her emotions are storming, she can come to you and find balance. That sense of stability is what makes a woman feel safe enough to trust you, to soften around you, and to let her guard down. Without calmness, you will always feel like a threat to her peace rather than a source of it. Think about the difference between a man who reacts to every small problem and a man who doesn't allow external chaos to disturb his inner world. Imagine two scenarios. In the first, something goes wrong. A plan fails, someone disrespects him, money is tight, and he immediately starts yelling, complaining, blaming others. His energy shifts into chaos, and everyone around him feels that stress. A woman in his presence feels unsafe because she knows that his stability depends on circumstances, not on himself. But in the second scenario, the same problems occur, and the man takes a breath, observes the situation, and responds with clarity instead of panic. He doesn't deny the problem, but he doesn't let it consume him either. His calmness tells her, no matter how bad things get, I will not lose myself. That is safety in its highest form, and that is what allows a woman to truly relax around you. Safety is not about promising a woman that you'll protect her. It is about embodying the type of energy that naturally makes her feel protected. And that energy comes from calmness. If your mood is unpredictable, if your emotions are always explosive, if your reactions are extreme, then she will constantly be on edge around you. But when your presence is calm, when your tone is steady, when your reactions are measured, you become the emotional anchor in her life. You become the man who can take her storms without being swept away by them. That is powerful because women crave that grounding force. They don't want a man who adds to the noise. They want a man who brings silence into the noise. Calmness also creates safety because it communicates self-control. A man who cannot control his words, his anger, or his impulses is dangerous, no matter how much he claims to love her. Women instinctively know this. But when she sees that you can stay calm even when provoked, she realizes that you are safe, not because you lack strength, but because you know how to channel it. Your calmness shows her that you are not ruled by ego or emotion, and that makes her trust you. She knows you won't break down when she needs you most. She knows you won't turn against her when things get tough. She knows your stability is not dependent on her behavior. It is who you are. And that allows her to step fully into her feminine without fear of being punished for it. This is why calmness is not just attractive. It is a foundation for lasting relationships. Without it, a woman may enjoy your charm temporarily, but she will never feel safe enough to invest her whole heart into you. Calmness is what transforms you from a source of temporary excitement into a source of lifelong trust. It makes her body relax in your presence. It softens her defenses. It allows her to breathe. And when a woman feels safe, she can give more of herself. She can love more deeply. She can open up more freely because she knows she is not standing on unstable ground. One of the biggest mistakes men make in relationships is believing that attraction is earned through constant validation seeking. They think if they say the right words, send enough messages, buy the right gifts, or prove themselves over and over, a woman will finally see their value. But the truth is, the harder you chase approval, the more you communicate that you don't actually have any. Approval seeking energy is rooted in insecurity, and insecurity is repulsive to a woman on a subconscious level. She may not always articulate it, but she feels it. And the man who cannot stand firm in his own worth, who constantly looks to others to tell him he is enough, never truly captures her respect. Calm men are different because their calmness reflects a deep knowing. They don't need approval to validate their existence. Their confidence is internal, not external. When you are calm, you are not desperate to impress. You are not rehearsing lines in your head, wondering if she liked what you just said, or constantly checking your phone to see if she responded. You are steady. You are grounded in who you are. And because of that, you don't need to force attraction. It happens naturally. Women can sense when a man is trying too hard, when he is performing, when he is bending himself out of shape just to win her attention. That kind of energy comes off as needy, and neediness suffocates attraction. But a calm man does not perform. He shows up as himself, fully, unapologetically, without trying to earn points. That quiet self-assurance is what makes him stand out from the majority of men who are constantly running after external validation. Calm men also understand something powerful. Approval is temporary, but self-respect is permanent. If you chase approval, you are at the mercy of other people's moods, opinions, and judgments. One moment they validate you and you feel high. The next moment they withdraw and you feel worthless. You are like a leaf in the wind, blown around by forces you cannot control. Women pick up on that instability and it makes them feel uneasy. But when your calmness shows that you do not need anyone to stamp you with worthiness, you become unshakable. She sees that your identity does not rise or fall with her attention. And that makes you incredibly attractive because it communicates independence. You don't need her validation to be whole. You are already whole. This doesn't mean you don't appreciate recognition or enjoy compliments. It means your core is not dependent on them. A calm man receives validation with gratitude, but he doesn't crave it like oxygen. He can go days without external praise and still walk with his head high because his confidence is built on something much deeper: self-mastery, discipline, and inner alignment. And women know the difference instantly. When a man is calm in his presence, calm in his communication, calm in his energy, she senses that he is not performing for her. He is not putting her on a pedestal, and he is not desperate for her to approve of him. That lack of neediness makes her respect him more because deep down, every woman wants a man who can stand alone. Approval chasing men often lose women without realizing why. They think they were being nice, being attentive, being good guys, but in reality, they were smothering her with a kind of energy that screamed, "Please tell me I'm enough." Women don't want to feel like mothers or therapists in relationships. They want to feel like women. And that is only possible when the man they are with doesn't need constant reassurance to feel valuable. Calm men embody this balance. They give attention without overdoing it. They listen without trying to earn points. They lead without demanding recognition. Their calmness tells her, "I know who I am. I don't need you to define me." That certainty creates attraction far stronger than any rehearsed pickup line or grand romantic gesture ever could. The irony is that when you stop chasing approval, you actually receive it more. When you are calm, women lean in to get your attention. When you are calm, people listen more carefully to your words because they know you are not trying to prove anything. When you are calm, your approval becomes valuable because it is not handed out cheaply. And this is the secret. Women don't fall for men who are begging for their time. They fall for men whose presence feels like a privilege. That privilege is earned not through chasing, but through embodying the calmness of a man who is already complete, already secure, already enough. Mystery is one of the most powerful elements of attraction, and it is something that cannot be faked. When a man is loud, overexpressive, or constantly trying to explain himself, there is no mystery left. Everything about him is already on the table. Women may find him entertaining for a while, but they will not find him deeply intriguing. What truly holds a woman's attention long term is not what a man says, but what he doesn't say. It is not how much he reveals, but how much he withholds. And calmness is the foundation of this. A calm man does not rush to tell his whole life story in one conversation. He does not constantly announce his achievements, and he does not try to convince anyone of his value. He allows silence to do the talking, and silence is where mystery is born. Mystery works because it activates curiosity. The human mind is wired to chase unanswered questions, and women are no different. When a man is calm, his energy becomes unreadable. He is not wearing his emotions on his sleeve. He is not begging for reactions, and he is not predictable. This creates a powerful pull because a woman feels compelled to figure him out. She wonders, what is going on in his mind? Why is he so composed? Why is he not reacting like other men? The more she wonders, the more invested she becomes. In a world where most men are desperate to be understood, the man who embraces calmness and mystery stands out as someone rare, and rarity is always valuable. The beauty of calmness is that it prevents you from over-explaining yourself. In conversations, insecure men tend to fill every silence with words. They are afraid that if they don't keep talking, they will lose her interest. But calm men understand that silence is not awkward, it is powerful. Silence allows tension to build, it allows curiosity to grow, and it allows presence to be felt. When you are calm, you are comfortable with pauses. You don't rush to fill the space because you know your value is not in how much you say, but in the weight of your presence. That ability to remain calm in silence communicates that you are in control, and it keeps her guessing about what you are really thinking. Mystery also comes from unpredictability, not the type of unpredictability that creates chaos, but the kind that comes from restraint. A calm man is not easily shaken, and that makes it difficult to predict his reactions. If someone insults him, he doesn't immediately retaliate. If someone challenges him, he doesn't crumble or lash out. If a woman tests him, he doesn't become defensive or emotional. He stays composed, and that composure leaves others wondering how far his strength really goes. That unknown factor is mysterious because people are used to predictability. They expect anger, they expect insecurity, they expect approval seeking. When they encounter calmness instead, it throws them off balance, and that disruption makes them more invested in discovering who you are. Women are especially sensitive to this kind of mystery because emotional predictability in men is common. Most men either explode with anger or shrink with fear when tested. But when a man does neither, when he remains calm, measured, and unbothered, she cannot categorize him easily. That inability to put him in a box makes her intrigued. She finds herself replaying the interaction in her mind, thinking about his words, his tone, his silence. Mystery lingers because it gives her something to explore, something to unfold. And the calm man naturally creates this effect without trying, simply because he is not broadcasting his every thought or feeling for approval. Calmness also brings mystery through self-containment. A man who is calm does not expose all his vulnerabilities at once, nor does he demand to be understood immediately. He allows time to reveal who he is, and he understands that attraction grows in layers. A woman doesn't want to solve a man in one day. She wants to keep discovering him. And the calm man makes this possible by being secure enough not to reveal everything instantly. His mystery is not about playing games. It is about having depth, and depth can only be felt when there are hidden layers beneath the surface. The truth is, women don't fantasize about men who are fully exposed, predictable, and desperate for attention. They fantasize about the man who gives just enough to spark their interest, but holds back enough to keep them curious. And calmness creates exactly that dynamic. It is in the calm gaze that doesn't reveal too much, in the calm tone that doesn't rush to explain, in the calm silence that leaves questions unanswered. That is the essence of mystery. And that is what keeps a woman hooked long after the conversation has ended. Every interaction between a man and a woman has something called a frame. The frame is the unspoken energy that determines who is leading the dynamic, whose reality is being followed, and who sets the tone of the relationship. Most men don't even realize this exists. They walk into conversations trying to impress, trying to adapt, trying to please, and by doing so, they unconsciously give away the frame. They let the woman decide the tone, the direction, and the boundaries of the interaction. But a calm man naturally holds the frame, not because he forces it, but because his calmness communicates leadership. He does not need to raise his voice or prove dominance. His energy alone creates the standard that others fall into. Think about what happens when a woman tests you, disagrees with you, or tries to push your buttons. Most men panic in these moments. They either become defensive, trying to argue and explain themselves, or they collapse, agreeing just to keep the peace. Both responses hand the frame over to her because they show that she can control your emotional state. But the calm man does not react in this way. He listens, he processes, and he responds with clarity. He does not raise his voice, and he does not scramble to convince her. Instead, his calmness tells her, "I am grounded. I will not be moved by pressure." That is how he keeps the frame without even trying. His emotions do not get hijacked, so the energy of the interaction remains in his control. This ability to hold the frame is magnetic to women because it communicates stability and authority. A woman wants a man she can lean on, not a man who is constantly being pulled around by her moods. If she feels like she can control you with a look, a tone, or a word, she loses respect for you. But when you remain calm and composed, she realizes that she cannot easily shift your direction. That resistance is not about being stubborn or controlling. It is about showing her that your reality is strong enough to stand on its own. And when a man has that strength, a woman naturally begins to relax into his leadership because she knows he is not going to break when things get tough. Calmness also controls the frame in conflict. In heated arguments, whoever loses composure first loses power. The moment you start yelling, defending yourself excessively, or overreacting, you give away control of the frame. But the man who stays calm, who speaks slowly, who doesn't get pulled into chaos, maintains authority. His calmness acts like a mirror. It forces the other person to match his energy. A woman who is emotional and dramatic cannot stay in that state for long if the man across from her is grounded and collected. His energy diffuses hers, and soon she finds herself following his calm rhythm. That is frame control in action, not through force, but through presence. The calm man also sets the frame by controlling pace. Most men rush to speak, rush to impress, rush to get results. But rushing communicates desperation, and desperation always shifts power away from you. A calm man takes his time. He doesn't respond instantly, he doesn't rush decisions, and he doesn't feel the need to fill every silence. By slowing things down, he communicates that he is not chasing, he is not in scarcity, and he is not afraid of losing her. That calm patience resets the frame because now she must adjust to his pace rather than the other way around. Women notice this immediately, and it creates a powerful shift in attraction because they feel they are dealing with a man who cannot be hurried or manipulated. Another way calm men control the frame is through consistency. Anyone can act calm for a moment, but true strength is revealed in how you carry yourself over time. A man who reacts calmly one day but loses control the next shows instability, and instability weakens the frame. But when a man's calmness is consistent, when he is steady across different moods, situations, and challenges, his frame becomes unshakable. People stop trying to move him because they realize he cannot be moved. That level of calm presence demands respect because it communicates mastery over the self, and self-mastery always translates into leadership in relationships. The truth is, frame control is not about manipulation or dominance. It is about responsibility. It is about taking ownership of the emotional environment around you. A calm man creates a frame of security, peace, and stability. And once that frame is established, people willingly step into it because they prefer the strength of his calm reality over the chaos of their own. This is why calm men never need to beg for respect. They command it, not with force, not with ego, but with the quiet authority that comes from being the one who controls the frame. Inner work requires honesty. You cannot become calm if you are constantly lying to yourself about who you are, what you fear, and what you avoid. It takes courage to look in the mirror and admit the areas where you are weak, reactive, or undisciplined. But that honesty is the foundation of growth. Once you see yourself clearly, you can begin to build strength where there was weakness, self-control where there was impulsiveness, and patience where there was restlessness. Calmness is born from this process of self-confrontation. It is the reward of a man who chooses growth over comfort, because comfort keeps you fragile, but growth makes you unshakable. Discipline plays a massive role in this transformation. Men who live without discipline are always controlled by external circumstances. They wake up late, procrastinate, eat whatever they crave, scroll endlessly on their phones, and then wonder why they feel anxious, reactive, and weak. Their lack of discipline creates internal instability, and instability always shows. But the man who disciplines himself, who wakes up with purpose, trains his body, controls his mind, and pursues meaningful goals, builds a foundation of calmness that cannot be shaken easily. His life is structured, his focus is clear, and his actions align with his values. That alignment creates peace within him, and that peace radiates outward. A disciplined man does not need to pretend to be calm because discipline has already made him calm. Another essential part of inner work is emotional regulation. Men are often taught to suppress emotions, but suppression is not calmness, it is avoidance. Real calmness comes from understanding your emotions, feeling them fully, and learning how to respond instead of react. A man who has done the inner work can feel anger without exploding, feel sadness without collapsing, and feel fear without running. He does not deny emotions, he directs them. That level of emotional mastery creates a deep sense of calm because he knows he is not controlled by what he feels. He is in control of how he channels those feelings. Women feel this mastery instantly because they know that a man who cannot control his emotions will eventually take out his instability on her. But a man who has done the work becomes safe, steady, and unshakable. Calmness also grows through solitude. Most men cannot sit in silence because silence exposes them to their own thoughts. But the man who learns to embrace solitude, to spend time alone without distractions, becomes stronger within himself. He learns who he is without noise, without validation, without external stimulation. And in that process, he develops a calmness that cannot be faked because he is no longer afraid of being alone. He is no longer desperate in relationships. His calmness communicates that he is complete as he is, and that completeness makes him powerful. The truth is, calmness is the byproduct of a man who has built himself from the inside out. It is the reflection of inner work, of discipline, honesty, emotional mastery, and solitude. A man who invests in these areas no longer needs to chase calmness. He becomes it. His presence carries a weight that cannot be explained, only felt. And when a woman encounters that presence, she is drawn in, not because he tried to impress her, but because his calmness is living proof of the man he has become. The truth is, women are not captivated by noise, chaos, or desperation. They are drawn to the man who carries himself with calmness, the man who doesn't lose control under pressure, the man whose energy makes her feel safe, the man who doesn't beg for approval, the man who holds his frame with quiet authority, the man who keeps her guessing with mystery, and above all, the man whose calmness comes from the inner work he has done on himself. Calmness is not weakness, it is power in its purest form, because anyone can be loud, anyone can pretend confidence, anyone can react in anger, but only a man who has mastered himself can stand still in the middle of life's storms and not be moved. And that is the man women cannot resist. That is the man who is respected by others. That is the man who walks into a room and shifts the energy without saying a word. If you want to change how women see you, how people respond to you, and how you carry yourself in life, don't chase attention, cultivate calmness. Because when you embody calm masculine energy, you don't have to convince anyone of your value. They feel it the moment you enter the room.